Banjo and Kazooie are finally making their way into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate this fall, and we got our first look at the duo in action during Nintendo's E3 Direct. I couldn't possibly be more excited for the Bear and Bird reuniting with their old Nintendo pals. I might be a little late, but I decided to dig through their reveal trailer to see what I could find regarding their moveset, stage, and some Easter eggs. First, I'll go over everything I could find about their moveset. Immediately following the reveal, we see Banjo crouching, with Kazooie popping her head out of his backpack. It's a very zoomed in shot, but we can see at the bottom of the screen that Banjo is covering his head with his hands, similar to the original crouching animation from Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie. Next, we see one of their taunts. This seems like more of an original animation to me, but the closest thing I could find was one of the poses they make during the intro to the first Banjo-Kazooie. Again, it's really not that similar. The Talon Trot is used for their running animation, and it's so satisfying seeing this updated animation in Ultimate. The bounciness of it all is so fun to watch. As you can tell, it's incredibly faithful to the original N64 animation. Banjo's neutral attack is the Claw Swipe, which thankfully looks much more useful than the move it's based on. Let's be real here, Claw Swipe in Banjo-Kazooie was garbage. Their down tilt has Kazooie stab at the ground in front of them, which honestly doesn't seem like it's a direct reference to anything. I guess the closest thing would be Beak Barge, but as you can tell, this move behaves very differently than what we see in their down tilt. Strangely, their back air seems to be based on Rat-a-Tat-Rap, which is the air attack from the Banjo games. It's only weird to me because I would have thought the natural use for this move would be their forward air, like how it is in the original games. Then again, we don't see their forward air anywhere in this trailer, so I guess it's possible it could be used for that attack as well, but that would make both their forward and backward air attacks very similar. As expected, Banjo utilizes Kazooie's egg shooting powers for what I assume is their neutral special. This is, of course, based on the same special attack that the duo has in their N64 games. We then see Banjo pull Kazooie out of his backpack and use her as an egg gun, which is, of course, a reference to the Breagle Blaster from Banjo-Kazooie, I can't believe I just said that, from Banjo-Tooie's first-person shooter segments. There's another Banjo-Tooie reference immediately following that, which is their forward smash, based on the move Breagle Bash. I love the horrified face that Kazooie makes when being slammed against the ground. I almost feel bad for her. Banjo's ledge grab animation is also shown off. I used the grip grab move from Banjo-Tooie as a reference point for this one, but the animation in Smash is pretty different overall. The Grenade Egg returns, which I'm willing to bet is their down special. This is based off of the Grenade Egg from Banjo-Tooie, although in Smash you're able to pick up the grenade and throw it, which you're not able to do in Tooie. Next, we see another taunt, where Banjo does 2 quick bows. This animation is based off of the same bow Banjo does when he either collects all 10 Jiggies in a level or opens a note door. The duo's up special is based off of the Shock Spring Jump move, where they jump really high with the use of a shock jump pad. The attention to detail here is great, with the shock jump pad even appearing beneath the duo. The same can be said for their double jump, which is almost exactly like their double jump from the original games. Honestly, seeing all of this makes me want a new Banjo game even more. Hell, I'd even take a remake of the first game. The Wonder Wing appears as one of their special attacks, which I'd guess is their forward special. In the original games, this move makes the duo invincible for a period of time, as long as they have golden feathers on hand. It seems to behave in a similar manner in Smash, with them charging straight through a Unira and Bowser Jr.'s forward smash with ease. And at the start of the attack, we see they can hold up to 5 golden feathers, and one of them is dropped upon activation. The question is, do these golden feathers replenish over time? Do we only get 5 per match, or maybe 5 per stock? It's hard to say for sure, but it does seem to be a very useful attack, much like it was in the original games. We also see a quick look at their backwards jump animation, which does have some similarities to the flap flip from Banjo-Kazooie, with Banjo doing a full backflip. However, Kazooie doesn't pop out like she does in the original N64 animation. This next one might be a bit of a surprise, but one of their idle animations is actually based on the idle animation from Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. There aren't many references to Nuts and Bolts in here, but this is one of the few. I had to zoom in quite a bit for this one, but we do get a glimpse of their forward tilt, which seems to be based on the Beak Bayonet, an attack you can do with the Breagle Blaster in Banjo-Tooie. Now this next one is going to be even more blurry, as it's very small in the video, and I think what we're looking at is their third and and final taunt. I couldn't make it out enough to be certain, as it could possibly be an idle animation, but whatever it is, I don't think it's a direct reference to anything in particular, at least not based on the very tiny amount that we see. We also see their slow walking animation, which is just Banjo slowly tiptoeing, which is actually pretty accurate to their original tiptoe animation. And finally, we see the duo's final smash. This should look familiar to anyone who finished the original Banjo-Kazooie, as it's based on the mighty Ginginator who helps you land the killing blow on Gruntilda during the final battle atop her lair, and it looks glorious. Okay, that's all I have on their moveset, so now I'm going to talk a bit about their stage, Spiral Mountain, which is based off of the very first playable area in Banjo-Kazooie. Let's take a look at what's going on in the background. First, there's Banjo's house. The design of his house here closely resembles the same design from Nuts and Bolts, except the house itself is in far better condition now. There's even the yellow fence surrounding the house, which is also based off of the Nuts and Bolts design. Just for the sake of comparison, here's what Banjo's house looked like in the first N64 game. As you can tell, it's pretty different. We also get a great look at Gruntilda's lair, which is based entirely off of the original lair from the first Banjo-Kazooie game. Everything else in the stage also more closely resembles Spiral Mountain from the first game. For example, the waterfall area has an actual waterfall like the original game, unlike Nuts and Bolts where there's no waterfall at all. There are some other noteworthy background elements as well, like the area where you break boulders in the original game, the tilled soil where you fought veggies, and the giant stumps where you practiced your jumping skills. The entire stage layout is an amazing recreation of the original Spiral Mountain. They definitely did their homework for this one. Now let's talk about some of the gameplay elements. In one clip, we can see the characters slowly spiraling around the stage. They certainly took the spiral theme seriously, huh? In a screenshot of the stage, we can see two bridge-like platforms hovering off to the side, which look like they'll be acting as platforms for players to use. However, we don't see these platforms in any of the gameplay clips, although we do see a completed bridge connecting from Spiral Mountain to Gruntilda's lair late in the trailer. My guess is we're looking at a transforming stage. The bridge pieces will fly or appear into the stage and occasionally make usable platforms, then eventually form a full bridge connecting to the lair. And maybe that bridge can then be destroyed through battle, then repeating the cycle. That's just my best guess at least. That's all I really have on their stage, so now I'm gonna go into some Easter eggs and other little tidbits. First off, the heavy presence of Donkey Kong characters in Banjo's trailer is far from just being a fun extension of the similar King K. Rool reveal video. Donkey Kong Country was the first game made by Rareware after Nintendo's partnership with the now former second-party developer. DK, Diddy, and K. Rool were the main faces of that game, so them being here to greet their old Rareware buddy was a really great throwback. I also love that they're all so happy to see the Bear and Bird's inclusion into Smash. It's a very cute touch. At the very beginning of the trailer, we see a gold object quickly bounce by. This was the moment many Banjo fans knew what was about to happen, but others who have never played the series might be a little confused. This object is called a Jiggy, a gold jigsaw piece that's the main collectible of the Banjo games. This is what you would use to unlock the different worlds to progress through the game. Think of it like the Power Stars or Power Moons from the 3D Mario games. Next, let's take a look at Banjo and Kazooie's character design they're using for Smash. Their designs are clearly based off of their original N64 appearances, rather than the blocky design used for Nuts and Bolts, and I couldn't be happier about that. I never cared much for their Nuts and Bolts appearance. Then there's the pose the duo makes during their grand entrance. This pose reminds me a lot of one of the old renders from the N64 days, although it's not exact. It's also reminiscent of when the duo were playing music during the intro to Banjo-Kazooie, with Banjo of course playing the banjo, and Kazooie on the kazoo. I think it's pretty obvious how they got their names. When Banjo and Kazooie are revealed, it says they're raring to go. This is a playful reference to the fact that these characters were made by developer Rare. Speaking of Rare, we can also see the company's logo on Banjo's backpack whenever the flap is open. In one of the screenshots released, we can see the first alt color for Banjo. Judging by the pink fur, this is most likely a reference to the shaman character Mumbo Jumbo. Also, you see how Banjo and Kazooie are jumping towards a giant star, with the background being the icy summit stage? Well, this is certainly a reference to Freeze-Easy Peak from the original Banjo-Kazooie, where you have to fly up to the star at the top of a Christmas tree in order to get one of the world's jiggies. We also see a clip of Banjo carrying a beehive while being chased by bees. In the original Banjo games, you collect honey for health, and at certain points you can break open health containers surrounded by bees, which will result in you being chased by bees. Banjo also collects honeycomb pieces to increase his health meter, so it could be a reference to that as well. There are some familiar faces we see pop up in this trailer, like Gruntilda flying around, much like how she does in the original game. We also see Bottles on his dirt pile, who seems to pop out to say hi right on top of Spiral Mountain. Finally, we can see a tiny Mumbo Jumbo sneaking his way into one of the release screenshots, with him standing at the entrance to Gruntilda's lair. Also, regarding Banjo's final smash, in addition to the mighty Gingernator, we see a green, purple, orange, and yellow Jinjo giving a helping hand. These are the exact colors of the Jinjos that assist you in the final battle from Banjo-Kazooie. While we don't see any other familiar characters pop up, my pal KumaTorey pointed out a part of the trailer that might be a reference to some. During the grenade egg clip, we see Donkey Kong holding Pac-Man's orange and throwing it into the air. This is most likely a tribute to Conga, a character from Banjo-Kazooie who hurls oranges at the player. Diddy's inclusion may also be a reference to a character named Chimpy, who wants one of Conga's oranges for himself, which would make sense as to why Jitty chucks the grenade egg at DK. If we take a really close look at one of the screenshots, we can see something floating above Banjo's house. This is an extra life, styled exactly how they appeared in the first Banjo game. Believe it or not, you can actually find an extra life in this same location in Banjo-Kazooie. If that isn't attention to detail, I don't know what is. Speaking of detail, at the start of the duo's final smash, we see the mighty Gingernator standing on a stone platform with pentagon shapes carved into it. This is all a recreation of the sequence during the final battle with Gruntilda in Banjo-Kazooie, where you have to shoot eggs into those pentagon shapes in order to power up the Gingernator. It's amazing how precise all of this looks. Towards the end of the trailer, we see King K. Rool falling straight into the ground and getting smashed by a giant boulder. This is a direct reference to the ending of Banjo-Kazooie, where Gruntilda falls from her lair and suffers this same exact fate. And finally, at the very end of the trailer, we see the screen filled with jiggies before it fully transitions out. This is very similar to the loading screens or transitions from the Banjo games, with Nuts and Bolts being the one I think is the closest. If there's anything that was made very clear to me by doing this analysis, it's that Banjo and Kazooie's inclusion into Smash Bros. Is being done with an amazing amount of detail and passion. I can't believe how many references there are to the original games, between both the character and the stage. It's all still a bit surreal to me, seeing these characters back on a Nintendo system, and in Smash Bros. No less. It was starting to feel like a pipe dream wanting these characters in, but between the efforts of the dev team and the good relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft right now, this dream has finally become a reality. And when I say I couldn't be happier, I really do mean that. This is an absolute dream come true, and I can't wait until they finally become available in Smash this fall. I'll be maining them even if they somehow end up being garbage. That's true loyalty. Anyway, that about does it for this video. Let me know down below how excited you are for Banjo, or who you hope to see join Smash next. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you later.